with the World Para Archery Championships.
We're here this afternoon with the different category from the category that we had this morning with the W1 archers. So the W1 category is a category where archers shoot with a number of aids depending on their level of impairment, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go along.
Sounds good. We've got a sunny day. Well, the clouds. We started the morning with an overcast sky, and the sun's trying to break through. It's warming up, but it's not extremely hot yet at this point in time. We've virtually no wind at all in the venue, and we've been fortunate all week long. We have not experienced much wind at all.
No, and I think the lack of wind has been really good for some of the archers. We've had a world record set here, at least one world record that I know of set here, and good conditions always help that kind of thing.
We've had some extremely good high-level results across the board, across all of our disciplines, and it bodes well for the organization.
Yes.
And it bodes well for the preparation that the archers have put in. This is pretty much the end of the archery season, the outdoor archery season for most of our athletes. We're starting this afternoon, as Pippa mentioned, with the W1 recurve and compound men's team competition, and entering the field we've got.
We will have Italy and we'll have Korea for the bronze medal match.
3 people to a team. All of the participants on the team have qualified at the same time. They are using all of the same type of equipment, even though in this category the archer does have the option to choose whether to shoot a compound or a recurve, right?
Yes, they do, and this is because the level of impairment is higher for these athletes. They have the choice of which bow to shoot depending on which one suits them better. And although all of the archers today are shooting a compound bow, they do have that option. If, for example, they found a compound bow physically too heavy for them to hold up, so they'll shoot a number of assistive devices, but all W1 athletes shoot from a wheelchair. So this morning we saw an open class where we had some standing archers, some shooting from stools and some from a wheelchair, but all of the W1s will shoot from a wheelchair because their impairment is greater than the categories that we saw this morning. And just as I was saying this morning, that's all done on a medical assessment, and you'll see that some of these archers are actually have straps that hold them into their wheelchair, and that's to help with their balance, and the other categories don't have that.
Or they have limited amounts available to them. It's it's fairly restrictive. The use of assistive devices is to make sure that the athlete is provided an equal opportunity to compete with those that are classified similar to themselves, but not to gain an advantage in the competitive sense. It is just to make sure they've got stability, or if one leg happens to be shorter than the other, they've got a lift under one foot.
It's about making sure they don't fall out of their wheelchairs for one thing, but also it's about making a level playing field, making it fair for everybody. People may see that there's a coach who is sat right next to a member of the Italian team, and this is because the gentleman in question has probably have something like poor hand function and finds it very difficult to put the arrow on the bow himself, and so he's allowed an assistant just to help him do that. He's not there to coach the archer, so he's not there to give an advantage, but he's just there to load the arrow on the bow to make it easier for the guy to compete on a level playing field.
So we're underway. The first signal has started for the afternoon. Should be
Korea shooting first, I think.
Yes.
The W1 competition is held at 50 meters, the same as the compound competition, but they have a target face that's slightly different, because the compound competition, they have they only score out to the 6 zone, whereas just like the recurves, the W1s have a 10 zone scoring. So I don't expect these archers to use the 1 or the 2, but the target face is the same as the recurves. It's a nice 9.
9-1.
How many arrows is each team shooting, Pippa?
It's I was going to say it's 150 arrows, but that's not what I that's not what I meant at all. It's it's a maximum score of 150 that the team can get, not 150 arrows. Okay. So each of the archers will shoot 2 arrows to make up the first end, and it's not a set system like we saw with the recurves this morning. They're shooting for total score at the end of them 5 ends, 4 ends.
But we're seeing the alternating shooting just like we did this morning.
Yes.
Just a different method of tallying the score.
Great turn. So they are a unique category in that the target face looks exactly the same as the recurves, but it's smaller and closer. It's at 50 meters, but it's a smaller target face, and they're shooting a compound bow. So there are similarities, but there are differences. So they are a unique class all of their own.
And the move to the full-size 80-centimeter face is a recent one for World Archery. I think it was done to establish a little bit more of a distance and a difference between some of the compound open athletes we'll see tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. I think for 2 reasons, and also because you have some archers in this class who are more impaired, it may be that they're more likely to score although we're looking at elite athletes and high quality scoring, but due to medical conditions, they may find they're more likely to get a 5 or a 4. And if they don't have the scoring zone all the way out to the 1, then that would be 5 or 4 points that they would lose altogether. Whereas the compound open category, where the athletes are less impaired, you wouldn't expect to see that much variation in the scores. Although right at the moment, we're not seeing very much variation in the scores at all.
No. We're keeping them inside the red.
Yeah.
So,
but it's to allow for all of the athletes, even those who aren't right at this elite level, to be able to compete.
One more in to go.
Oh, it's a 9.
Close
Italy
match.
take the first end. Korea went down to the last second on the clock there.
Just as they say, under the wire.
Yeah.
On target 1, Italy, that is on which I have a score of 21 points, and Korea 49 points.
So it seems like it's a more complicated category in some ways, but it's still just shooting arrows and trying to hit the middle of the target. But the category exists for people who would find it really hard to compete against open compounds or open recurves. And that's just about making that little bit of adjustment. We were talking earlier about sport for all, and this really proves that there is archery for everybody.
Again, archery is easy to adapt for people with disabilities of a lot of different kinds. Even some of the developmental disabilities adapt well to archery because of the strictness, and when I say strictness, because of the regimentality of the sport, in that the objective is to do the same thing, arrow after arrow, and end after end, event after event, and that plays well to some.
Well, the Italian team have gone into the lead here, but they've had a journey through. They've taken out China in the quarterfinals and Turkey in the semi-finals, but actually they were ranked 4th in qualification, and the Koreans were ranked 3rd. So on the face of it, you might think the Koreans would win, but as we can see, the Italians are in the lead. And this is a cumulative total, so every end and every arrow counts.
6-6-1.
Korea struggling just a little bit at the start of this end. Still opportunities to pick up the pace and get close. There you go.
Yeah, that's a
get
nice
closer to
line.
the middle.
9-1.
So all sorts of ways that a W1 archer might release an arrow. Some of them can hold a release aid and use what looks like a fairly ordinary release aid. Other people would have something that hooks over the string and they might twist their wrist in order to activate the release. There's all kinds of adaptations that you can do.
There's also an item called a mouth tab, isn't there?
Yes, there is. So we have people who will shoot by holding a tab between their back teeth, not their front teeth. And that's permanently fixed to the string, and they draw the bow back by actually holding the tab in their mouth, pushing their front arm out, and then opening their mouth to release the string. And we've had guys win Olympic medals like that.
It's one of the interesting things about para archery that's different from able-bodied archery, and there's a different dynamics with the mouth tab. It's not exactly like shooting with your fingers, and it's not exactly like shooting with a release, although it is closer to shooting with a release. But one of the things that happens with a bowstring when it's released, it creates a paradox. In other words, it oscillates on its way towards the bow, and depending on whether you're releasing the bow with the string with your fingers or with the release or with the mouth tab, depends on, well, you'll see the evidence of that when you slow it down in very, very, very high speed filming, and see which way the string oscillates as it goes forward.
It's quite interesting to look at that, and in fact there's a load of videos out there on the internet that you can go and search out if you want to and watch slow motion bows. But yeah, it's quite fascinating, the amount of, and also the amount of vibration through the whole bow. The Italian team there have a group high in the target. I don't know why they all seem to be shooting high as a team. It's a great group.
It is a very nice group. Yeah, I just wonder if they're aware of it as they need to be. Make an adjustment. We got a couple arrows down there on both sides of the lane that are questionable. An asterisk behind the score means that the spotter was not able to definitively call the arrow. There you go. Somebody made an adjustment in their sight. And it's always initially called, when you can't make a determination from the spotter's perspective, you call the arrow the lowest value and put the asterisk behind it. And so there's an opportunity. Right now, it looks like Korea picked up a point. Depends again on how those two questionable arrows. Korea's got one, and Italy has one as well.
So that might, it depends. If Italy get theirs and Korea don't get theirs, then they'll have scored the same for that end. So there's not very much in it in terms of points anyway. And in fact, all of these guys look really calm out there. None of them look nervous. Even when they came past the commentary position here, wheeling out onto the field, and they all look really up for this match.
They've had all morning to watch their friends and fellow competitors out here on the venue, see what kind of reactions or implications it had for being in the venue. Nobody This venue was, when I say this venue, the finals area was just set up within the last couple days. So they come onto this field cold. They don't get an opportunity to practice on this field before they roll out here for a match.
Yeah.
Now there's a practice area adjacent to this.
So Italy's arrow was stayed the same on that end. So at the moment we have, since Italy had taken the first end scoring, we have a 96 to Italy, 95 to Korea.
Close match.
It's going to be a close match. Well, starting with a 9, that's starting as you mean to go on. So a lot of these guys will have slightly different stabilizer choices. They'll choose something that's lighter in their hand because their balance is very poor. So if you put a very heavy bow in the hand of somebody whose balance is really poor, then it's really difficult for them to hold it up. So you see more kind of carbon bows and really lightweight long rods, sometimes lightweight sights.
That's a nice
good
shot.
shooting, 998.
It's got to be tough being that archer's assistant, right on the line next to his athlete, and not able to say much.
Yeah, not allowed to coach, just to sit there to load the arrows. So the only person who's allowed to give coaching instruction, who's on the field to play at the moment, is the coach that's currently stood in the box behind the shooting area. And they're not allowed out of their box while the archers are shooting. You can just see them standing at the back.
Okay. All tied up for the first 3 arrows for each team.
It's a nice shot.
7, team 1.
I thought it was a better shot than a 7. He had a great follow through. It's a really good example of the kind of lightweight long rod. Good 9.
Nicely shot.
I'm not certain what the current world record is for the W1 team, but I know that Italy scored 215 against Turkey, and that's a pretty good score.
That was a pretty significant win for them in the
Yes.
semifinals. They
Yeah,
did really put it away.
and in fact, part of the Turkish team, I think, is the current Paralympic champion.
Nice group.
I'm not certain if it's Paralympic champion or world champion. It's certainly, a really high-scoring athlete. So, so they did well. I think Italy might go back into the lead here. Yeah, wow, great shot. That's a really nice end.
5 out of 6 arrows in the gold.
Yeah. 53, that's almost a 9-point average.
Just one shy of a 9 average. Picked up 5 points. Waiting for confirmation on those 5 points.
And we'll see what will be the next end result.
But we don't have any questionable arrows out there. It looked like the spotter was able to get a good read on all of the arrows. We've had a nice week here in Beijing. The weather has been cooperative. We have not suffered through a lot of wind. No rain to speak of, maybe a little bit of sprinkles. Generally speaking, overcast for the most part.
Yeah, I think it's been hot, but not so hot as to be dangerous for the athletes, because of course doing archery in a qualification round, you're outside for a very long period of time, and I think it's good then when you get these really perfect conditions.
Starting end number 4. And we've got Italy leading the match by 5 points over Korea. Same process here as we saw this morning. The team with the lowest cumulative score.
That's an
excellent way to start the end. Is the team that starts out the match. I'm sorry, the team that starts out the succeeding ends as you move through the match. And go ahead.
The Korean who just shot, he actually won the silver medal in the W1 mixed team in Rio. So he has some experience. It's maybe why he looks so calm right now.
They've put 2 nice shots down there right now. Maybe they're finally finding their groove.
Yeah, maybe. I notice, they have 120 seconds for the 6 arrows, and the Koreans, they're taking like 60 seconds for 3 arrows. So they really come down to the clock in the end, using all the time. He looks a little frustrated at that one.
I would not be happy with that myself. It's been a long spell since I've shot last time, but
back in the line.
Not the greatest of release and follow through on that one for the first Italian.
In this shot here, you can quite clearly see the strap that he needs in order to keep his balance in the chair while he shoots. Because a bow is a heavy thing when you hold it out in front of you at arm's length. It's a lot of weight to pull on you.
Not only weight to pull the bow back, but just mass weight to hold it up.
That's what I mean.
This is the last half of the last end.
That's quite close.
Last arrow for Korea.
That's a 9. Korea end on 196. So the Italians need to score 23 points with those 3 arrows to tie.
Just a little over an 8 average, or a little under an 8 average, I'm sorry. Well within their means.
That's
And there's a 9 there. Italians have a good cheering squad here. They brought a full team. They did.
14 points from these two archers. Oh, another 9. See, that's performing under pressure, isn't it?
It is. They started out this end 5 points up, but they're not just resting on that.
No.
They're still trying to.
18 seconds to shoot. Final arrow. Anchorman gets ready to shoot. And puts a 9 on.
A 9.
That's the bronze medal for Italy. Wow, that was really good shooting from Italy. I think they should be really proud of that performance, because they were just so solid right the way through.
Okay. So just one low end and around the one lower end, but averaging 50 points or more in 3 out of the 4 ends.
But they really did look kind of just like they really held it together, you know, really kind of calm. So fantastic. Great news for Italy, who are the winners of the bronze medal here in Beijing at the Para Archery World Championships for the W1 men's team category. And Korea, well, they'll have to try again next time. There's some happy guys.
Going home with some hardware.
That's a really great feeling, you know, winning a medal, winning any medal, winning a bronze medal is great. Just seeing them go past us here,
all
waving
smiles,
his fist in the air, really.
Our next match is we're going to see Turkey versus Russia.
And for the gold medal.
The gold medal.
In the W1 Men's Open. So different group of archers, all with different impairments again, but able to compete in the same category because of the type of adjustment that levels the playing field for each of them. And Turkey beat Italy, who we've just seen in the semi-finals. So we've just seen Italy win the bronze medal, and Turkey were the team that pushed them into that bronze medal match. And Russia took out Korea. So the match that we've just seen has been that each of these teams have progressed from.
We've got our number 1 and our number 2 seed joining us here.
Yeah.
Italy qualified first out of the qualification rounds, and Russia was second out of the qualification rounds. And the qualification rounds are not team formatted. They're actually scores that are just pulled together from the individual qualification scores.
So it's the highest scoring, the highest rank. So you know, if your guys were in first, third, and sixth, then they were your 3 highest scoring guys. That's who would make your team, unless there were some exceptional circumstances to change that. We're seeing in the Turkish team here, we're seeing Omar, who we'll be seeing later in the day as well, because he's made the gold medal final in the men's individual competition as well as the men's team.
Athletes are being introduced, getting settled on the line. Takes them just a little bit longer. They come with a little bit more equipment to the field, and as Pippa stated earlier this afternoon, wheelchair all the way around.
And one of the Turkish team again has an assistant to help him load the bow. So here we have the men's W1 Open team gold final about to start between Turkey and Russia. Championships for the young man on the end who's got the assistant to help him. He's only 25 and he hasn't been shooting terribly long, so it's absolutely fantastic. But in his first World Championships, he's made the final.
That's a trip. It's got to be exciting.
Yeah.
Looks like Turkey's going to start us. Excuse me. It looks like Russia's going to. No, Turkey's going to start us out.
It's the choice of the highest ranked team.
Yes, and there can be some strategy involved in that, as to choosing whether you start out the match first or you want to finish the match last. Although the not so much recent rules, but rules have changed, in that you get the choice of your position to shoot first or second on the first end of the match, and then after that, it's the team with the lowest cumulative score that starts out the next end.
I always think, that if you're the highest ranked, your opponent expects you to go first. So they think they're going to have a little bit more time to get set up. You're ranked first, you get the choice. You're going to choose first. So you should choose second, because that's not what they expect.
Just to throw them off. Might be a good psychological tactic.
I'm not going to give away my secrets.
Oh, okay.
Hey, 1 point.
So we had a questionable error on that last one that the Turks shot.
If it was me, I'd give it to them, but I'm not down at the target.
Seven, 2 point.
So you may notice from that archer that actually he's not holding his release aid at all. He's just tied around his wrist, and he's using this wrist to pull the bow back.
Now you've mentioned the stabilizers that are protruding from the front or the back of the bow. Now, the stabilizer setup for the compounds is different than it was for the recurves we saw this morning.
Yeah, it can be. There are some compound archers who choose to shoot with what's commonly referred to as a V-bar, which is what the recurves tend to use, but the compounds very often don't use the same setup. And they may have multiple rods, in fact, on their bows, but with these guys they tend to only have one. But it's all down to the length of the bow and how much stabilization, that's where the word comes from, the bow requires. So how much the bow wants to tip from side to side, and it really helps you control the aim of it and the way that the bow behaves when it leaves your hand.
51 for an end total for Turkey. That's a nice.
7, 2 point.
It's a nice performance.
Yeah, I think Turkey are going to move into a reasonable lead, unless of course we get 2 10s from the Russians. But it's just the first end.
8, 1
And the Russians are on that right-hand target, and again, they've got some of those right-hand arrows we saw this morning.
It's an interesting phenomenon we've latched onto.
It's definitely not the wind,
9,
because there just isn't a breath of wind here. The flags all the way down the side of the field are just not moving. 51 to 47, maybe upgraded to a 52. So they have a reasonable lead to start with, but anything can happen.
We're just the first end into a 4-end match, and we will shoot all 4 ends. Different from this morning, where if you won in straight sets, you were done in 3 ends. We had over 250 competitors that started out this event, didn't we, Pippa?
That's great.
And I think
Do you know how many countries?
I want to say we had something like 41. somewhere around there. That was the initial count that was recorded in the team manager's booklet, I think.
It's really great, and actually I think in the time that I've been involved in para archery, the championships have grown in size and in number of countries, and also in the number of W1s, for example, like we're looking at the moment, and the number of women. All of these have grown, and it's a really great thing to see.
Okay, the archers have the ready signal. It's a 10-second wait, and then the first archer may take their arrow out of the quiver and load it. You're not allowed to load your bow with an arrow until you hear the second whistle signal.
Good shot. Another archer who doesn't hold a release aid in his hand. He just pulls back with a strap around his wrist.
What do we see when we're looking at release aids? Do they?
So there's a lot of different ones. The guys who pull up on their wrist typically have one of two kinds. One with like a finger trigger, which would just be like a lot of regular release aids that you could buy, and they'll have enough function in their hands to be able to operate a simple trigger, but not enough to hold a release aid.
All gold start from Russia. Go ahead.
Wow. And others where they'll be modified to actually twist the release aid to set it off, rather than using fingers because they don't have enough finger function. So there's a whole variety of things. Some of these archers will have strong enough hands to hold a release aid, but even then they'll probably have it tied to them. Make sure that it doesn't go, that they don't let it go.
It doesn't go flying off someplace.
Yeah. So you can see here that's quite a significant strap in order to help him. And he's just going to pull through. So he's not even pressing the trigger. He's just pulling through, and that's his thumb is on the trigger, and that operates it. So with Omar, he's allowed to have strapping to hold the bow to his hand because he doesn't have very many fingers. So he can't hold a bow in the way that most people would hold a bow. So he's allowed to have a strap to strap the bow to him. So when you see some of these modifications, it's really hard sometimes when you look at them to work out what's going on unless you actually talk to the people concerned or spend a lot of time around them. Whoa, nice 10.
Very nice 10. They seem to have found their groove.
They do. "25 seconds for 1 hour. Lots of time." That's fine. A 7. 52 end. That's nice. Given Turkey's start, I think they might catch them up a bit. It's really hard for these guys when it's very windy. But thankfully today we don't have that.
What kind of adjustments does a compound archer have to make in the wind? I mean, other than understanding, how far the arrow is going to move, how do you adjust in the wind?
I think there's two ways. You'll find that there are some people who aim off. I was always trying to adjust your sight as close as possible. If the wind's consistent, it's easy because you can just adjust your sight and aim in the middle. But if it's not consistent, if it's gusty, then you need to watch the flags around the stadium, watch flags on top of the down behind the target, any kind of visual indicators that you can get to see which way the wind is going. And sometimes it's all about picking your time. In a match like this where you're up against the clock, it's not so easy, but in the ranking round you've got a little bit more time. You just try and pick your time to shoot when it's that little bit calmer. I used to quite like things like shooting in the wind and when the conditions aren't great, because it's just that much more of a challenge for you to overcome. I always used to work on if I could score, within a certain percentage of my personal best, every time I went anywhere, regardless of whether it was sunny or windy or rainy or cold or hot, then I was happy. And if I dropped below that percentage, then I knew I hadn't performed well. It's about having a top and bottom limit, I guess.
So we got a little back and forth going on, with Turkey actually being the outright leader after the first end, but losing a couple points to Russia on the second end. Turkey had enough of a lead that they could still be in good shape.
3 points in it. Turkey still in the lead, but with 2 ends to go.
That clock starts quickly, doesn't it? He's barely got his arrow on the bow, and he's three seconds down already.
And of course, it takes him longer to load the bow than it would you or I.
Mm-hmm.
7-2-1.
And it's not just loading the bow, is it? It's loading the bow, making sure your hand is good on the grip, you know, attaching the release aid to the string. All these things are just a little bit more difficult. And just another adjustment that they need to make to their timing. They may not aim for as long, but then they'll practice that.
That's what practice is for, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's to play those what-if scenarios and challenge your physical sense as well as your mental sense to say, okay, what if this happens?
Yeah.
What if I'm caught in the restroom and they blow the whistle to start the end?
Yeah.
You know,
what if I leave my spare bow on the practice field?
We've seen that, haven't we?
Yeah, we've seen that.
Sometimes it's a long walk over to the practice field, or a short run, as the case may be. But you are huffing to get there and back again within the time frame of the end, because there is no stopping once you start a match. There's no equipment failures. There's no wait, my bow broke and I have to go get my backup bow. You've got to have it with you.
Yeah. So in a situation like this, if these guys had a problem with a bow and had to go and get a spare one, then the clock would keep running and they would just lose the score of the arrows that they missed.
There's a nice 10.
That's a 10. It's what they need to do if they're going to make up that gap. And a nice prize at the end of this, a gold medal for the winner. And the way, call yourself a world champion as well. That's definitely a 9. That isn't just touching the line, that's cutting it in half.
Right. In archery, there is except for the dividing line between the blue and the black, there is as you can see when we do zoom in on the target, we get that picture of the target. There's a black line between each scoring zone, and in order to score the higher value, if an arrow lands close to a different scoring zone, all it's required to do is just touch that line. Yeah, like I said, except for between the blue and the black zones, there is no dividing line. The color just overlaps. So all you have to do is touch the next color. But that's one of the main things that judges are responsible to do, is to settle that dispute over arrow values at the target.
Turkish lad just put in a 6, which I think opens the door a little bit for Russia to make up that gap. And gets a 9, which ties the score at the end of 3 ends. They go into the final end and the scores are tied. It's going to be a tight match for that gold medal.
Excellent.
There are a couple of more differences with the bows that the W1 archers shoot compared to the bows that the compound archers shoot. The sights that they shoot, with a compound bow you have effectively like a back sight where you have a little hole in the string that you look through to act as a back sight for your ordinary sight, and the W1s don't have that. and they don't have any kind of magnifying scope to look at the target. So they have regular recurve sight, just like we saw on the recurve bows this morning, and no peep sight in their string. It's another thing that makes the class unique. And the reason for not having the magnifying glass is that some of them would find a problem with using that. And again, it's all about how do you make the field as level for everybody so that they're all treated the same way. So you'll see, if you look at compound bows, you might look at these and go, well, these guys don't appear to have a peep sight, and that's why. It's because they only have a recurve sight on the front and they have no peep sight at the back. Although lots of them will have some kind of little knob or pisser or something tied to the string to give them some location on their face. All helps with their accuracy. All going to come down to these 6 arrows.
It's amazing. If you notice the trend, while you were
a good way to start
sharing the recap between the difference between the two teams, in that the Turkey started out with a higher score and has slowly shot less and less each end, while Russia has started out with a lower score and gradually increased their performance. But Turkey's coming back strong.
That's how they can perform under pressure. That
couple
counts.
Arrows.
Wow. 10-9-9, that's what they want. What can Russia do in reply?
Gonna find out.
An 8.
8-5-1.
Two 10s will keep the score tied.
Oh, nearly.
9.
It's a 9.
They've been grouping a little bit low. I'm not sure if anybody's advising them that that's where their groups have been going. Actually, no, I stand corrected. If you look at the arrow holes on their target, they do have a majority they're a little higher.
I think when they started off, they were all high, and they've adjusted since then. But 9-8-8 as opposed to 10-9-9, so Turkey have stolen those points back. 3 arrows to shoot. Another 9. Wow.
Not letting up.
They just have one more each. Oh, great shot.
10.
Great shot. It's what you want to do under pressure, isn't it? Last shot of your... and this will be the last shot for Turkey. This could win them the medal.
Excellent.
And I think it probably will.
And all gold in.
I don't think they can be caught.
56.
56 end, that is their best end.
And 30 from Russia only gives them a 55. Not to say that it can't be done, but
yeah,
almost mathematically.
Nobody's going to celebrate just yet.
No, this is true. We're going to wait. Make sure everybody gets to shoot their arrows.
My coach always used to say to me, just stay on the line until everything's over and they've
There
told
you
you
go.
that you've won.
That's a nice 10 from
It's
Russia.
a great 10. He can be happy with that for a last arrow. And a 9. Yeah, both teams, I think, both teams really performed well. Wow, Turkish team really happy.
Well, there's the tale of how we got there. Look at that. Turkey saved their best for last, didn't they? They really cranked it up on that last
They
day.
did. So, you know, our winner now is Turkey for the gold medal of the W1 team, and Russia get the silver medal.
Just confirm
fellow teammates are happy.
Yeah. Well, they really did perform well, and I know they had that little dip in the middle, but to come back and then both teams have scored over 200, which, you know, for the team round, for the W1s, it's a really, really good score. Anything over 200, I think, is kind of your benchmark for really elite quality. And so that's great to see in a gold medal match. It's really fantastic to see both teams performing to such a high standard. There was nothing more I think Russia could have done. They ended up with a 10 and 2 9s for their last 3 hours. Exactly the same as Turkey. But just those 3 points in it in the end.
All right. What's the rest of our afternoon look like? We're in the W1 category for all of our matches this afternoon. We've got 4 more matches coming up. We're gonna see some activity from the mixed team, the W1 mixed teams, and then we see the women's individual, then the men's individual.
And so we have the W1 mixed team. The bronze medal match first, and then the gold medal match, and then we'll be moving on to individual matches. And we've already seen both of the gentlemen in the mixed teams, one for Japan and one for Korea. I think we've certainly seen the Korean this morning competing in the gents team. And they're coming onto the field of play at the moment. The mixed team is exactly the same regardless of which category you're competing in. It's 1 man, 1 woman from the same country, and they're selected usually according to being the highest scoring man in the ranking round and the highest scoring woman in the ranking round, unless there's anything to change that. So a team manager might ask for a change if somebody wasn't very well or had some kind of a problem. But ordinarily speaking, we're talking about the people who scored the most in the ranking round. So this is the World Archery Para Championships W1 Open Mixed Team bronze final between Japan and Korea.
And coming out of qualification, Japan was ranked number 4. Korea was ranked number 2. Separated by about 50 points. Japan ousted the USA in the quarterfinals and lost to Great Britain in the semifinals.
Yeah, and Korea actually they lost to Russia in the semi-finals, but they beat People's Republic of China in the quarterfinals. I think the Chinese team were really quite disappointed because, you know, it's their home games, and I think they felt that they would do a little better than they did. It just wasn't their day.
There's a lot of categories here, though, at the para event, as opposed to the able-bodied event, where there's just recurve and compound and men and women.
Yeah.
We've got 8 categories. Yes?
Yeah, we have the W1s that we're looking at the moment, so that's W1 men and women, and we've got compound men and women, recurve men and women, both standing and wheelchair, and of course we have the visually impaired categories, 2 of them, but they're not competing here at this World Championships.
7 T1.
Korea start off with a 7. Again, this is cumulative score over 4 ends.
Each archer shoots 2 arrows. Very nice.
Yeah, it's a great arrow to start.
Per end. So a total of 8 arrows from each archer during the match. The Korean team, I think, were silver medalists in Rio. Korea is a strong contender archery-wise. in
All disciplines.
all disciplines. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the national sport in Korea, and
within para, certainly that's no exception to how good they are in all of the categories, the compounds, recurves, and the W1s. They also have some really strong archers.
6, 6-1.
He's got a compact form.
Very compact. I think that's something you see more often in the W1 category, is people who shoot with a bit more of a bent front arm. Again, keeping the bow closer to your body so that the weight of it doesn't actually pull you over. And we're talking about the mass weight of the bow there. So the tighter you can keep it all in towards you, the less strain it puts on you.
How much does it cost for a bow setup like this?
Oh, well, it varies immensely. Are we talking US dollars or euros? It's probably, I guess you'd probably be talking $1,000 or euros for a complete setup with the sight and for a real quality piece of kit. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, but yeah, it's quite a lot of money. Certainly your arrows, though, on top of the cost of the bow and the stabilizers, that's all I was talking about. But a set of arrows can be $500 in the UK, or £400. And that's a significant amount of money, and you're probably only keeping for a season because you're actually shooting a lot. And I think the challenge is then that it's much harder to get sponsorship for the para events than it is for some of the big sports and everybody. You think about there's some sports where they're professional and earning quite a lot of money, but para sport, there isn't as much money in para sport, and a lot of people in para sport, of course, are unable to work full time, and so financially it becomes a challenge sometimes. You'd hope your national federation can help a bit, but maybe not with equipment. Maybe they just bring you to the championships.
Well, plane tickets are certainly expensive these days. There's another one of those purple bows, Pippa.
Yeah, I know. I just noticed. I thought, should I say something about the purple bow? And then I thought, no, everyone's going to think I'm obsessed.
It is a hot color in the manufacturing end the last year or so. And it seems to have been a good choice because a lot of people like it.
Yeah. I think you're seeing more purple bows than you did pink ones when they brought pink ones out.
Well, I think they kind of restricted the pink bows to ladies' sizes though, as well. But I have seen, on the collegiate level, I have seen some men shooting pink bows.
Brady
did a season with the Susan G. Komen as a partner, raising breast cancer awareness in the U.S. and had a pink bow.
Yeah.
I think that was the start of the pink bow.
I think so.
Era.
Yeah.
But it's continued since then.
Nice turn. Yeah, and I think it was actually quite an iconic thing, particularly within the archery world. It really did raise awareness, and that's a fantastic thing. So at the moment, Japan have the lead over Korea, but scores are still pretty close.
8-5-1.
That's a good example there where I was saying he can hold a release aid in his hand, but he's still got it tied to his wrist. But I think it has a little plate in it to keep his wrist from bending.
Time's down for the lady from Japan.
2.
There
Wow.
she goes. Oh,
Oh, what a shot under pressure.
nice job. Very nice
That's
job.
what you need to do, isn't
You
it?
can hear the coach starting to count down for her because you can't see the clock and aim at the target at the same time.
No, well, the clock is underneath the target. You may be able to see in some of the long shots that there's a bar across the bottom of the underneath the target, and it's got all kinds of things on there. There's the score. There's your signal to shoot, whether that's red or green, and there's also a countdown clock on there. So all of those things are an aid to the archer, but when you're aiming at the target, you can't see any of them. Oh, you shouldn't be looking at them anyway. You should be looking in the middle.
There you go.
So that's half the job of the coach, is to keep an eye on all of that stuff.
Japan starting out strong and increasing their lead, although Korea came back with a good end last gun. Japan leading by a total of 6, and we're entering end number 3. 4 ends total will shoot in this match. Team with the highest cumulative total at the end of 4 ends will be declared the winner in this bronze medal match.
10 from a Rio silver medalist. So Japan in the lead, beating the team that took the silver in Rio. Both of these Japanese archers won medals in Turin World Championships in 2011.
So they've been with us for a while. They've got some experience behind them.
So you can see that he does have a grip on that release aid, but it's not strong. Two 8s, solid. Korea have made 1 point back. But Japan do have a 6-point lead.
Just chipping away at it there a little bit.
Yeah, she shot a 10 and a 9, which is really solid. And another 9.
Nice group for those 3 arrows.
Yeah. They're on a total of 99 now. Oh, a 10. Japan are not going to let that go lightly, are they? Eight. It's okay, they maintain their lead. In fact, no, they lost 1 point on their lead, but still 104 to 99 at this stage.
Korea's leveling out. They're looking a little bit more consistent with the last 2 ends. That first end I think they just had a slow start. That might be the match for them.
Well, it might be. I think with only 4 arrows to shoot and a lead of 5, you would think that that Japan are going to win. But you know, I'm not gonna call it until it's over.
We've seen them come close to the time limit on another end in this match already. So it's hard to say.
But it's a lot of pressure again, you know, as I said earlier, this bronze medal match, you know, if you're going into the gold and silver match, you know at least you're going to go home with a medal. But this match, you're not. So there's a lot of pressure on these last 4 hours. And
we're starting our fourth and final end of this bronze medal match, with Japan leading Korea.
And she has experience of the big stage. And
Nicely
it shows.
done.
9-1.
I remember watching her shoot in Rio, in fact, and I think that just in the kind of year between then and now, I think she's improved so much. Her whole kind of form just looks more consistent. So if she's improving on that silver medal, then I think she must have put a lot of hours of practice in. Yeah, that's good. 9. Another 9.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Japan uses a lot more time than Korea,
Yes.
so that may pose a risk as we get to the last 2 arrows
Yeah.
of this end.
Well, we've seen that already, haven't we, with people really, really close to the edge of the clock and people running out of time, in fact. Somebody shooting on 1 second. It's all drama.
Keeps you on the edge of your seat. Nice.
Very nice. I don't know that they could do much more. We just have to wait for Japan to just shoot these 2 arrows solidly. That's an 8.
That'll do.
That'll do. It's the last arrow of the match.
5
Down to
points
the
needed
lady
to win.
in the mixed team round.
Time is coming. Oh, there she got it.
And
a
and a 9 to finish.
There you go.
Wow.
Clutch, a little under. She had 1 second left on the clock.
Yeah. So there's a lady who can shoot under pressure. And that's really, you know, I was saying earlier about the team round with a 3-man team that, you know, you want your anchor man, the guy at the back, to be the person who can put in the 9 when there's only 1 second left on the clock. And there's a perfect example. You know, 1 second on the clock, really solid shot, didn't let the time worry her. Stuck it straight in the yellow bit, and that, you can't ask for any more. So there's our confirmation. We have Japan winning the bronze medal for the W1 Open mixed team, and Korea, silver medalist from Rio, going home empty-handed this time.
Guess that's what the winter's for. Regroup and see what kind of changes you need to make. Another thing that's interesting about the way that the teams are composed in a competition is that you may not shoot with the same teammates or the same teammate every time because of the fact that the original qualification is based off of the individual rounds, and the team manager has the option to replace one, both, or all of the team members with, well, in a 3-person team, you can't really replace anybody because you all have to shoot the same bow type, and the maximum number of people you can bring to an event is 3.
Yeah.
But in a mixed team event, you may not end up with the same partner.
No.
3 tournaments in a row.
Yeah, and that's actually quite it's quite common, I think, for because of course if you have people who score, say you have like Great Britain we're going to see in a minute, and they have some W1 ladies, they all score really highly. The positions could change from tournament to tournament on who comes top scorer and then who's gonna shoot, and so you don't always have the same pairing, and that's an interesting thing as well.
I guess that's what practice is for.
Yes.
Squad practice. So
Squad practice. Yeah.
you make up your different combinations and you try them out.
Yeah.
You see who fits those starter roles and the cleanup roles best in any given combination.
And we're going to go through now to the final, the gold medal match for the W1 Open mixed team, and that's between Great Britain and Russia.
Some pretty good qualifiers here. Great Britain qualified 1, had a bye in the first round, and solidly beat Japan in the semifinals, 150 to 130. And Russia qualified 3rd, beating Italy in the quarterfinals, and Korea very handily in the semifinals, 142 to 137. I'm sorry, in the semifinals, 142 to 137.
The British team have come out and they're just getting themselves settled on the line.
Crowd starting to get into cheering a little bit more.
Yeah, the Russian team have been quite vocal in their support.
They've had a team or an individual pretty consistently in our morning and in our morning presentation, and again here in our afternoon presentation.
Yeah,
this is their second appearance.
I think that
we'll see them.
I think Russia have had a really good tournament. I mean, they've always been a strong team, but being a strong team doesn't always mean that you're going to get into the medals.
True.
We have a left-handed and a right-handed archer choosing to shoot back-to-back.
Interesting.
But this is one way you can both be closer to the middle of the target. So if you're lining up for the middle of the target line, if you turn the other way around because of your footplate of your wheelchair, you're sat further apart, you're further from the middle line of the target. So I don't know if that's why they've chosen this position, but it wouldn't surprise me.
GBR is going to start us out, as is their choice.
This is John Kavanagh. He's been to many Paralympic Games, and he twists his wrist, as you can see with that release aid. I was saying earlier about some archers do that. So he doesn't use his hand at all. He just twists his wrist to let his release aid go.
Jessica's had a good year this past year. Did I see where she had set a couple new records?
Yeah, she set a new world record here for the ranking round.
Oh,
so breaking her own world record. She's set a lot of records over the past year or so, and she's still really young.
Nice start.
Just 17 years old.
My goodness.
17 years old, and she's a Paralympic gold medalist from Rio, and she's also she came second in her first ever tournament in the European Championships. That's quite extraordinary, isn't it?
She's got an opportunity for a lifelong career if she wants it. She shoots 45 pounds, 44 pounds.
The maximum bow poundage that you can shoot if you're a W1 is 45 pounds, and Jess is managing to get 44 and a half.
Nice.
Nice.
And that one too close to call. So we'll call it a 9 and wait for the target judge to make the decision on whether it's actually a 9 or a 10. Nice.
That's a 10 for Russia. Nine, 8. Time is ticking down.
Oh, it's an
8 under pressure. It's 1
like
point in it. That's nothing. Nothing at this stage.
That's a nice end to start out for both teams.
Yes, it certainly is. I mean, 35, 36. It's no arrows outside of the red. A couple of 8s there for Russia, but you know, it's not like they were a long way out. And I know we are waiting on the one-liner, so I guess there could be that 9 might be increased to a 10, but still, there's not a great deal in it.
Korea, the score 142 over 137, and now for the gold medal match now.
Do you find that archery crowds are really respectful when the archers are shooting most of the time?
I do. And I think a lot of that comes from, and the challenge was denied. Essentially, the arrow stays a 9, so we've got a closer match than we could have had, with Great Britain leading by 1 point.
Russia to shoot first.
But back to your question, yes, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that, in general, archers like to watch archery, and so they understand what the athletes on the field of play are going through, and they are very respectful of that relationship there. And you don't want to be yelling things while people are at full draw. At least you try not to. Sometimes when there's multiple matches going on at the same time, it's hard, but in those situations, I think the athletes understand what's happening, and it's not anything that's directed at them purposefully. But in my time in archery, I've seen it over and over again, where an athlete has an equipment failure, or equipment gets lost on an airplane. You know, it gets redirected. We won't say it gets lost. It gets redirected from its original flight, and people just walk right up and go, here.
Yeah.
Have a bow, have a set of limbs, have my my extra arrows, my backup arrows.
Yeah.
Anything to get people back on the shooting line.
I've seen that happen. I think it's interesting that we have John Kavanagh here, who I said is, he's been competing at the international level for, I think 20 years, and he's age 61 now, and he's competing with Jess, who's just 17. That's a nice 9 for the Russian.
She's fairly young as far as her archery career goes. Started shooting in 2014.
Yeah. She's already 2 years ago won bronze in this very event, in fact, the mixed team in Donaueschingen in 2015 at the World Championships. So she's got some experience.
Wow, that would be pretty good for a rookie season.
Yeah, I'd have settled for that, I think.
2 9s for Russia. That's a good strong finish on this end.
And a 10. Scores are tied. Britain maintained that 1 arrow, 1 point lead over Russia.
On the second end, both teams have weakened a little bit on the score. Take the 4 arrow score to 32 points. High.
Both coaches on the line there, giving a bit of encouragement or instruction, or who knows.
Just loose it up.
Yeah. Sometimes you ask your coach to come out and just talk about rubbish, anything, just to
get your mind off of it.
Get your mind off what you're doing, because what you really want to do is just concentrate while you're shooting the arrows. You don't need to be worrying about things when you're not shooting the arrows.
Take that mental break and then come back at it. Get focused.
All of these archers have won medals at major championships. The men's W1 team in Donaueschingen with a silver medalist in Igor. So you have four medalists here sitting on the shooting line, but they didn't necessarily win all their medals together like in the mixed team with each other, as you were saying.
Here we go with end number 3.
And the W1 scores are really high, I think. I think they're incredibly competitive class. It's a 9.
9-1.
Nice start. That's an 8. It's okay.
5-1.
Looks like there's marks on the target, Pippa. What are those for?
On the marking of the arrow holes is done every time they pull an arrow out. They mark the holes so that if an arrow hits the target and bounces out and they want to find out where it went, they at least know which holes existed before, as it were. So every single arrow that hits the target is marked so they know the position of it. Because you can't replace for the clean target face every single time.
That could be expensive for the tournament organizers if you were putting up target faces all
Yeah.
the time, huh?
But it's the only other option, isn't it? If you want to see where, you know, where a group of 6 arrows has landed in a previous end, the only way you could do it is by taking the target face off. So that's not going to happen. So that's why they mark them. And for a qualification round, the same thing happens. Every single arrow hole is marked. Because it is possible to shoot an arrow and it hit the target and then bounce out of the target. And it has happened at a World Championships.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh my.
That's a shame.
3-1.
I think maybe the pressure started to tell there. She shot so well. That's a good shot of John. And watch how he twists his hand to release the arrow. And he gets a nice result.
2-1.
Yes, he does.
And a 10 from Jess.
Nicely done.
She's very consistent.
Well, if she's got 2 world records,
Yeah,
or
I
a record
guess.
and then broke her own record, I guess it's 2 world records, isn't it?
I guess,
You
yeah.
get 2 certificates for that?
Yeah. Just one end to go, and there's now 9 points in it, if my maths is correct. So that's going to be really hard, I think, for the Russian team to make up. It's such a shame about that one arrow, because Elena had been shooting really well all the way through, so she's going to be very disappointed.
As they say, it must not be her day.
It's Phoebe, one of the British compound archers.
Mm-hmm.
Zoomed in on the crowd there.
Watching the match.
Watching the match. She really focused there, didn't smile at the camera. Didn't notice her face on the big screen.
No, I think her attention was directed to what was happening here up at the line, as opposed to the screen, which is downrange.
Yeah. That's just what you were saying. Archers love to watch archers.
It's where the action is. You can see where the arrow. Once the arrow hits the target, it's not going anywhere, and it's not going to move. Ooh.
Oh, that's a great 10. X10.
Nice comeback for the Russians. They're going to need a couple more of those to pick up and erase the deficit that they've got from the last end.
Oh, and that's a 9. That's going to make her feel better. It's a good shot. An 8 for John.
8-1.
She's got a nice rhythmic shot.
Yeah, she really
It
does.
Doesn't I don't see much that changes that.
No, and she's been she's been really solidly in the 10. I think she's had a couple of 9s, but mostly they've been really just on that left-hand side of the 10. And a great shot from Russia. They have to just keep shooting the best they can shoot until the last arrow. Earn that silver medal. Time ticking down. That's a good shot under pressure for her last. Just 4 seconds on the clock. It's scary.
She probably doesn't even recognize it or realize it. She just knows that she got it off well within time. We weren't hearing the coach count down numbers from here anyway.
No. Another 8 for John. Just to shoot the last arrow.
Only needs 2 points to win. And she
gets a 9.
Well done.
Great Britain win the match with some really great shooting. Score 140 to 132. And yeah, we thought it was going to be a little tighter at one stage. But we're just waiting for final confirmation. You see the archers not moving off the line until they get that final confirmation.
They're waiting. They're not. There's no premature celebration going on here. I think the coaches are getting it now.
Yeah.
There you go.
As soon as the scores are confirmed. Well, the Russians are still shouting. They're really proud of their guys.
There's nothing wrong
and
with the silver medal.
No, they shot really well.
Worked hard to get here.
So the final result is Great Britain wins gold at the World Championships for the W1 Open mixed team class, and Russia takes the silver medal.
We've got 2 more matches to go this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you stay with us. We hope you're enjoying the presentation. We've seen some good, solid shooting here today, both this morning and this afternoon. The next 2 matches coming up were the women's W1 gold medal match and the men's W1 gold medal match.
And in fact, we're going to see Jess Stretton there, 17 years old, just won a gold medal in the mixed team, who's left the field, and then she's just going to turn around straight away, and she'll be coming back on again in a minute for the gold medal match of the individual W1 ladies. In fact, we've got an all-British final coming up.
That we do. We've got the rookie against the vet, right?
Yeah.
Joe
has been shooting for a number of years.
Yeah.
She used to shoot recurve, and as her condition has changed a little over time, she became a classified as W1 lady once we had the introduction of the W1 ladies class. So we had a time where we only had W1 gentlemen and there were no W1 ladies, and that's a kind of historical event. And so we introduced a W1, in World Archery introduced a W1 ladies class a few years ago, and it's been really great to see the class grow. And it's incredibly competitive classes. You've just seen from Jess, who just put in all those 10s in the gold medal match. So Jo Frith has been a world champion, broken world records herself. So both British, between her and Jess, it's always been really tight competition. So I guess this is the gold medal match for World Para Archery Championships in the Women's W1 Open between Jessica Stretton of Great Britain and Jo Frith of Great Britain.
Many years ago, we had our one of our esteemed leaders in World Archery was Mrs. Frith. Any relationship to Jo?
I don't think so.
Huh? She was.
I may be wrong though. I don't know.
She was quite the lady. Carried with her a lot of pomp and circumstance when it came to archery. She insisted at that point in time that ladies wear skirts and skirts only.
Oh.
Of course, this was quite a while back. And she ruled with a bit of an iron fist, just a little bit at times. She was very, very determined to see archery as a classy sport.
These two archers here, both on the podium in Rio, where Britain had a 1, 2, 3.
I was going to say it was a sweep in Rio, this class.
In this class. So you can imagine, you know, these girls, they train together, and obviously they're great friends in the team, but they're highly competitive on the field. And I know when I was competing in compound, we had myself and 2 other compound archers, Danny Brown and Mel Clark, and we used to have this kind of same competition between us. And
All right, our format changes a little bit once we shift from team competition to individual competition. Each archer will shoot 3 arrows apiece. Again, it is cumulative scoring, so the archer at the end of 5 ends will be the winner. The total maximum score any archer can achieve is 150 points.
Jess, of course, has been on this field already, so and in fact she's been lucky enough to be on exactly the same target that she was shooting the mixed team round, and that's really nice. You know, if you have to go off the field and then come back on for you know, from a team round to then come on as an individual, it's really nice if you're on the same target. It feels familiar. You've already been out in the finals field. I think you have an advantage over your opponent straight away.
She seems to have found her groove a little bit quickly.
I think Jo's bracketing the shot, as we call it.
Getting her legs under her.
Yeah.
Interesting. Whole new set of coaches come out for individual competition.
Yes, I was surprised. I thought maybe Jess would keep the same coach that she had for the team round, but now we have 2 different coaches. I think one of them has been down at the target end doing the scoring earlier. So you have somebody from your own team down at the scoring end to confirm the score of your country's arrows, as well as the official score, and of course judges.
Quick turnaround. Individual matches run very, very quickly. Just leading by 4 points. There's Joe's.
Yeah. Well done, Jo. Jess responds with a 10.
Makes it easy for the team members to cheer.
Yeah.
You don't have to pick sides.
No.
7, 7.
I think Jo is going to be disappointed to be dropping some of these out of the gold. I like it when they put them all in the 10s because the adding up is easy.
It is.
It's an 8 for Jo, I think.
7,
A 7.
Oh, there they go.
No. See, I told it. I said it was I said it was an 8, and they put a 7 up. They must have heard me. I think that's the first arrow out the gold for Jess, since we've seen her come out this afternoon.
For this individual match, I don't remember in the team round whether she had anything outside the gold. I don't think she did.
No, I don't think so. And she didn't come through the half of the draw that included the third British W1 lady. So Jo actually came up against Victoria Rumori, who's gone on to win the bronze medal yesterday, and Jo beat her. So we will end up, I think, with another Britain 1, 2, 3 here, because regardless which of these ladies wins, one of them's going to get gold and one of them's going to get silver. And you know, they've shot really well, taking out people from all sorts of teams on the way. I think Elena is Russian, of course Lisa is American. She shot well, I think.
GBR developing a little bit of a dynasty here in the W1 category for ladies.
I think often it happens when you get one archer who's doing well in a category, that if another one trains with them, they kind of raise their level. But we had 2 or 3 ladies started at the same time in Great Britain, just coincidentally, and they've all really
kind of blossomed at the same time,
yeah,
and together. As
I think that's a really good description.
Are they friends off the competition field?
I think all teammates are friends, aren't they?
Well, I think sometimes there's a bit of tolerance that happens, where you can't really, say that they're friendly, but they may not be friends.
Oh, well, there's a big age gap as well, isn't there? I think with these guys on the British team. So Jess being so much younger, I think I don't know that they have everything in common.
True. That was a quick end.
It was a quick end.
Back and
Jess
forth,
extends the lead by 1 point. She's 83 to 76. It's not an insurmountable obstacle. It's a bit of a mountain for Jo to climb, but still there's 2 ends to go. And if she can put all her remaining arrows in the 10, she's just put in 2 10s, then who knows? Nobody can ever beat a 10. That's what I figure. If you put it in the middle, then no one can ever beat you.
Unless it's a shoot off, and then it's whoever's closest to the center on a 10.
Yeah.
But that's, as they say, splitting hairs.
Yeah.
I think, because you're basically splitting the crosshairs on the target when you get to that point, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm not certain what Jess's world record was the other day. I should have had those figures with me, shouldn't I?
So Jo should be starting us out again. That was a nice shot.
Yeah, it was a lovely shot. I think the timing just looked perfect.
Yeah, very rhythmical.
Yeah. And a 10 from Jess.
Another, it looked like this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it looked like the same shot, but again, a very rhythmical shot. Just boom, boom, boom. The arrow goes.
Oh, great shot.
There you go. Maybe she's finding
5 seconds left on the clock to shoot it.
Maybe she's
Straight
finding
in
her
10.
sea legs.
And another 10.
Oh, Jo, nice end.
Oh, fantastic.
Excellent.
Really good shooting.
A long shot. Still with plenty of time left on the clock, though.
Yeah. And I think she was trying to go for that 10-10-10 there, but 10-10-9. She actually increases her lead by 1. So coming into this tournament, I think her world record stood at somewhere around the 6:40 mark, and I think I'd have to check the results sheet. We don't have it here, but I think she's around the 6:50, which is, it's respectable.
That's a sizable jump.
Compound, let alone a W1 compound. So, and again, she has no peep sight, no scope, and so she's shooting with pretty much all recurve equipment apart from a release aid and a bow. I think you wouldn't be shooting a compound bow with a finger tab. It can be done. There used to be a category called Compound Limited. That's how I started, with a compound.
We still offer that in the U.S. for some of our national competitions, but mainly it's the older generation that still shoots it. The younger kids coming up.
Yeah. That's another skill entirely.
Yes.
All these different parts of archery.
This is our last end for the ladies. W1.
I think
gold medal match.
if you look at Jo's target, she's just sat that little bit below the 10 most of the time. Sneaked into the 8, sneaked into the 9.
9-1.
Jess just needs to maintain score exactly the same as Jo, and she's going to get the gold. Oh, well done, Jo.
Well
Still,
done.
you know, a little bit low of the centre of the target.
It is.
Back in the 10. I think she's been in that arrow hole before.
It's possible. She's very consistent this afternoon.
Oh, and a great shot from Jo.
Nicely done.
It's the way you want to finish, isn't it?
9-1.
Oh, that's
now
the way
that's
to
the way to
that's the way to
finish.
finish. Exactly.
Take out the spider, take out the cross in the middle of the target with your very last arrow.
No questionable arrows, and coaches are congratulating their archers for a good match, and I think the ladies are.
I think we will have the official confirmation, but there we have our eventual silver medalist, Jo Frith, just getting a hug from the coach there, and Jess Stretton, world champion from Beijing. Big hug between teammates. So there we have gold medal winner of the ladies W1 individual, Jessica Stretton from Great Britain, with a silver medal going to Jo Frith from Great Britain.
Please welcome the coaches and judges to the field of play.
All right, we continue to move along, and we're on our last match of the day. Thank you for joining us.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the athletes to the field for the men W1 Open gold medal match. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 year of the same count. On target 1, now away. Representing Turkey. Omar Ashik. On target number 2, now away. Representing
Omar came to us qualified number 1 and had a bye in the 116th as worked his way through with a 135 in the 1/8, a 138 in the quarters, and a 134 in the semifinals. Jeff, that's a nice round. A 674 from Omar is a nice qualification. Jeff, on the other hand, qualified in 7th position, but his scores on the way to this position here are just a little bit higher than Omar's. Be interesting to see how this match plays out. And Omar has chosen to shoot first. I think Jeff might be out there to conduct business his way. And he's got a quick shot. This match might go rather fast.
Jeff Favory's been on the circuit for a long time. I think he's won quite a few international and Paralympic medals.
8-5-1.
Nice. Been shooting since 1997. He is tall. I think he stands about 6'2", 6'4", somewhere along there. So Omar being the lowest running score right now. We'll start out the end again.
Starts with a 7.
7.
And the nerves get into him a little bit because you don't see him shoot many 7s. 8 for Jeff.
8-5-1.
Tiny spot for him.
Another 7 for Omar.
T1.
Wow.
Consistent.
Very consistent.
8-5-1.
It builds on his lead by 2 points. 9 for Alma. Bringing
9
back in
to
with it.
1.
Jeff, final arrow of this end.
That looked like a cleaner shot than the other two. The other two were consistent, but that definitely looked like a cleaner shot.
You know, he's on target too, and he's taken the lead. And actually today, that right-hand target only had 2 wins.
Isn't that an interesting statistic? You've got 9 wins so far, no matter what division, what category, what gender, what bow type, coming off of target 1. Maybe Jeff will break the curse.
Yeah. Well,
Jeff scored 53.
he's got a 3-point lead at the moment.
Omar 50.
Just haven't seen how he played that.
Omar starting us off again. Nice shot. No, he won't. Omar's timing and rhythm looked a little bit better on that shot.
9 to 1.
Keep them all. We're just on end number 2, so. No, we haven't. It just tells you the nerves might be playing just a little bit. True. Nice group, Omar. Down to 4 seconds left on that shot. I don't know. Did you hear the coach calling arrows from here or time from here? I could not. But he's laughing about it. Okay. It's pretty unflappable. Pretty calm and collected under pressure. Good attitude, you know. Oh, the Turks giving out a little hometown cheer for their teammate out on the line. And number 4, this one and another one will take us to the end of the match.
Somebody once said to me, just don't worry about aiming number 10. Aim in the yellow bit. Sooner or later you'll make a mistake and you'll hit a 10.
The odds should be with you if you just aim for the yellow, right? Sooner or later you'll hit a 10.
I think the nice thing about that, rather than trying to aim like in the middle of the 10, is there's less pressure when you're aiming. Because just aiming at the yellow bit, automatically your brain is going to aim in the middle of the yellow bit.
It is amazing how your brain will do that for you without ever having to think about it. Your brain always wants to line things up and put them in a symmetrical fashion in general. Much better shot. Or without, as you mentioned earlier today, not missing. Just aim for the middle and let the process take care of it, knowing that your brain will take care of a lot of things for you if you just let it. It is. That autonomic system and the things that we do. And archery is a perfect example of things that we do that are rote, that we do all the time. And your brain remembers what you do. You just have to remember to tell your brain that you want to remember that one because it was a good one. Forget learn, like we've mentioned before, learn from the ones that don't go perfectly, but reinforce those ones that do. So your brain says, aha, that's what I'm supposed to remember. So exactly. Nice. Holding a little longer than he has on his other shots. We've got a tie score with 3 arrows to shoot. It's a quick shot for Jeff, but good 9, exactly. Let's see how. He's got to have a 10 outright to win. Anything less. All right, so it's going to come down to the value of that questionable 9. If it's in, Jeff wins the match. If it stays a 9, it stays a 9. With a shoot off, we did. Everybody's pensively waiting. Everybody's curious what's going to happen with that arrow. There you go. It was a good match. Love it when they come down to those shoot-offs, or shoot-offs or arrow calls in the end. Thanks for being with us. We enjoyed having you listen in, and join us tomorrow. We've got more matches to come.